I'd like to welcome everybody to the Committee of the Whole on November 26th. I am chairing this meeting because Reeve Link and Deputy Reeve Clausen are attending via conference call, but a chair has to be here in person. This meeting will be conducted in person and by a conference call in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 199. Council chambers will be open to members to the public while continuing to use current telecommuting processes in place. To join the meeting via teleconference, well, there's a number there. And so anyways, I'll take a roll call vote, and we'll go from there. Is Councillor Larson on the line?
Just to the chair, you just want to do a attendance roll call.
Right, okay. Councillor Laprise?
I'm here.
Councillor Bigger?
Here.
Councillor Eichers here. Councillor Kester? Yeah. Reeve Link?
Good morning, everyone.
Deputy Reeve Clausen?
Good morning.
Councillor Larson? Okay, so we have everybody here. So I guess we have an agenda in front of us. Are there any additions to the agenda? Sorry? Yes, I did. Yeah, and he answered. Yeah, that's okay. That's why I'm the chair. So we have an agenda in front of us. Is there any additions or deletions? Have somebody adopt the agenda?
Also move.
Thank you, Councillor Bigger. Councillor Laprise, are you in favor?
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor.
Councillor Eichers in favor. Councillor Kester. Reeve Link.
In favor.
Deputy Reeve Clausen.
In favor.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will start with the 2025 interim capital operating budget. Take it away, Joel.
Morning, Joel here from administration. I'll find our place here in the budget. Just as a refresher, so last week at the Committee of the Whole, we did some presentation on the overall generating operating budget, and the committee members received capital and operating draft packages, which are also included in the agenda. And we got through most of the operating and the summary information. And so today our focus is going to be on the capital projects and kind of going through the 2025 draft capital plan. We have all of our managers here to present their items and talk through the details and answer any questions. And so I'll just find our start of our budget report here. So page 44 of the online agenda package. And if you're following along on the hard copy booklets, we'll just get to the first section, the admin. Just bear with me 1 second here. So on page 6 of the hard copy, and page 51 of the agenda package. This is just some good summary tables showing the proportion of the different capital projects, the percentage that they make up of the overall budget. And then we'll turn to our first section, the administration section. So for 2025, we have these two IT equipment and office furniture agenda items, capital projects. And I'll turn it over to Harry to present this IT budget.
Morning, committee. Harry from administration here to explain the IT equipment portion of the budget. As Joel mentioned, this is a deferrable with impact budget. There are other items that are deferrable and other ones that are non-deferrable, but this one's deferrable with impact. IT equipment consists of computer assets, infrastructure asset, meeting room asset, and mobile asset replacement to a total of 105,000. We have budgeted 25,000 for computer asset replacement, and this remains the same year over year, just our regular asset recycle period. We have budgeted 20,000 for infrastructure improvements. We're looking to invest in internet beaming technology. We believe that it's going to save us money in long run by installing more reliable Starlink internet and beaming across multiple sites instead of subscribing to internet at every location. This beaming technology we're looking at doing in Rosebud with water treatment and the Greater Shop, and also Gleason where we have the water treatment, fire, and the Greater Shop there. So we have done this in the administration office from our beaming internet from our administration office to the garage that our users use, and we found that it's very it's pretty good technology. So we're looking to implement that next year into our offsites. We also have budgeted 50,000 for meeting room, and this includes a deferred amount of 26,600 from this year that we are not using and we're deferring to next year. This is to improve meeting rooms in our fire halls to accommodate virtual meetings and whatnot, similar to how we have set up in our administration office here. We also included 6,000 for a potential addition of redundant camera angles in this chamber room as well. We also have 10,000 of mobile that we did not use this year, so that full amount of 10,000 is getting deferred to this year. I'm available for any questions, and that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Harry. Any questions? I think we can go on to the next item.
So I'll just speak briefly to this next one in the admin area. This is more of a office furniture contingency budget. It just allows our facilities management to just make purchases for furniture and other things around the office. And, it's a standard annualized set amount just to allow that flexibility for them to purchase things as needed. So then our next area, we don't have any specific items in the fire budget for 2025, but I will just kind of note that something important to recall with the fire area is that the fire associations, they have budget as well, and they have capital items that they budget for. And the county's contributions to those are actually found in our operating budget. And they're approved by, I think it's the fire committee, and then Sherry could speak to those details if there's any questions. But in terms of for the county side of things for the budget, there's nothing set for the 2025 or 26 at this point. Is there any questions around the fire budget?
Sorry, any questions? I think we can, oh yes, Councillor Kester.
I don't know if you track it or not, but is there a way to track county fire departments separately from fire associations? We give the fire associations so much of a mill rate was their agreement, but that was 30, 40 years ago. And the county fire departments used to be part of that agreement. But they're county now, and I think the county's paying a lot more than what that agreement was. It would be nice to know what each department gets to run the lights and buy equipment, their total bill, and then we can compare to the associations. And they raise 60% for their equipment, and they pay all the lights and stuff, but the county gives them a certain amount of money from that 0.5. I think there's a disparity there. I know there is. I just like to know how much.
Yes, through the chair. We can definitely get that information for like the committee and bring it back to council for information. So an easy way to decipher the capital contributions of, just if you're looking at this sheet right here versus Wheatland County departments versus Wheatland County Fire Associations, is that all of the department capital costs will be in the capital budget. However, all the operating ones will be in the operating budget. So we can kind of get that information and get that back to council.
Yeah, one sheet of
By
paper would
department.
make it a lot easier.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Guess we can go on to the next item then.
All right, well, I'll turn this, the Hamlets, Public Works Hamlets section over to Cody here. I'll let you just start. Thanks, Cody.
Good morning, council. Hopefully everybody's warmed up now. I'll be with me for a while here, so a few projects to go through. So starting with Hamlets, it's not a huge budget this year, or huge number of projects, I should say. So the first one here, just our usual sidewalk budget for concrete, sidewalks, gutters, curbs, that sort of thing, replacements within the hamlets. We didn't have a program this year. It was deferred, so we'll be looking into 2025 to do replacement of the Cluny, of the sidewalk in front of the Cluny Community Hall and along the playground area for about a block. And then also within Gleason, making improvements to the highway crossings, wheelchair ramps, flashing lights, crosswalks, things of that nature. That was brought up by the community association, identified as a need for them. So those are the two items for this year. Any questions on that one?
I have a question. So the new pathway that's going in, I think it crosses the highway north of this. Is that part of the Pathways project, or would this be maybe something that we should look at in conjunction with that, or?
That is part of the Pathways project.
They would
And they're-
actually put in ramps to cross the highway and lights and all that?
Yeah, you betcha. That'll all be done as part of that project.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, go ahead, Cody.
Thank you. And the next one here, just the county entrance signage. So we're in phase 3, or continuing with phase 3 of this project with the community entrance signs. This year, Rosebud, Carsland, and Lyalta are being done in December. And then so continuing on with the next phase. And that is determined by the signage committee as to which locations get done next year.
So since there's a committee for the signage, just general thoughts from council on whether we should be spending this kind of money? Like, we have the main signs are up now. And now we're just talking about doing, hamlets and that kind of stuff. So the signage committee thinks it's a good idea, but I don't know if we've had a chance to hear from the rest of council. So now would be a time to make your opinions known. Yes, Councillor Kester.
Hamlet's a part of the county, and Rosebud signs, some of them are getting kind of old and washed out. And yeah, I think go ahead. I just have one question though. I know my ratepayers up on the number 9 highway, especially by Rocky View side. There's a welcome to Knee-Hills sign in the county road ditch side of the road. I know it's Alberta's road ditch, but they put it on basically the wrong side of the highway. Do we have any plans of putting a welcome to Wheatland County sign there? Be, just in front of it somehow.
I'm definitely familiar with the area you're talking about, and we have looked into that location. And the way that jurisdictions are set up with municipalities is everything that's south of and west of is what's yours, basically. So technically, everything up to the edge of that right of way falls within their jurisdiction. So it looks, I know it kind of seems like it's misplaced, but it is actually on their side of where their jurisdiction would start. So we would start on that south edge of that right away is where we begin. Hopefully that answers it.
Doesn't make my residents feel any better.
Yes, Councillor Laprise.
I like the idea. I think I know it's a cost that's not a critical thing, but I do think it lends to the Wheatland County kind of community. I'm just curious, did you say that so Rosebud, Carsline, Lyalta would be this, like in December? It'd be 2024 budget, and then they'll decide on the 2025 locations?
That's correct, yes. The signs for this year, those are already been ordered. They're just waiting for the contractor to come and do them. We're anticipating around the 15th of December that they'll be in.
Okay. And so it's basically 200,000 for 3 signs? Is that kind of?
I believe it is 5 signs and then the main sign here at the office. So it's about 6 signs for 200,000.
Okay. That's not bad, hey?
I got a question, like the sign on Glenmore Trail leading in from Rocky View County, did that go down twice this year?
It was just once. It was vandalized. It was cut off at the bolts and pushed over. So we've had that repaired now, and we are installing some guard plates around the bolts. That's also going to be done when the sign company comes to install these other signs. They're going to go back to all the other ones and put guard plates in so that can't happen again.
A learning experience. There's some, okay, so I guess we're good with the signage, so I guess we can go on to the next one, Cody.
Okay, so next is gravel. We don't have anything on the budget for this year. We just kind of have a placeholder in there for potential pit purchase down the road. So we just leave that one on there. And then bridges. We do have some maps and things that we got printed out. I wonder if I can get someone to hand those out possibly here for me. Will I kind of give
We got them, don't we?
or does everybody have them already?
I think we have them already.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you.
Save some time. So as promised, over the last couple of years, I've been kind of beating the drum that the bridges are going to get more and more, and it is. We've seen this budget grow exponentially over the last couple of years and continues. So we're pushing, over 8 million a year on bridges right now, and kind of anticipate that to run for the next 5 years at least. I'd say we're kind of in the middle of the bubble, so to speak, on replacement of this infrastructure. So we're going to feel the hurt for the next few years, and then hopefully we'll start coming out of it here by the end of this 5 years. There's been some changes to what is been shared with council to date, just with some recent information that came to light on some coroner reports that we had done on some infrastructure. So I'll touch on some of the changes as we go, but I guess just to note here, bridge file 76863, we're going to be increasing the budget this year. It was already slated for engineering and replacement in 26, so we're just upping the budget to 120,000 from 50. And then bridge file 7943, we're going to be moving that one up into 2025 budget and increasing it to 120K from 50K. And that is because these two were identified as having extensive rot, and then within the next week, we're going to be restricting the weights down to 10 ton with 50K speed limits on these two bridges. So one is out near Carsland, and then one is just east of Rockyford. So we'll have some more information on those two at the next regular council meeting. And then just to kind of offset some of those impacts, we're going to be bumping bridge file 74132 out at 2026, so pushing it out a year before we start engineering on it, because it's not quite as high as a priority as these ones. So yeah, a few changes.
Any questions? I have, like, how long, like, when we replace one of these bridges with a bridge-sized culvert, what's the expected life expectancy on the new culvert?
So new culverts, bridge-sized culverts, typically, on average, we estimate 50 years is kind of the regular lifespan on those. It can range anywhere from 35 to 70, right? It just kind of depends on the soil and the water and whatever's there, and how, if it was got enough galvanizing, right? And so there's a lot of different things kind of play into it. Some of the heavier, thicker steel pipes were put in 1953, and we're just seeing those come up now. So they lasted a really long time. With the bridges themselves, typically you're looking at, they kind of say 70 years is kind of the guideline on a bridge. Probably 60 is more realistic. But we do have some that are over 100 years old, and that's because the substructure's been fully replaced, and then they put the old steel bridge back on top, and those are coming up again because those substructures are rotted again. So, we'll be seeing those come up in the next few years. So it kind of varies, depends on the materials used. But, as a nice average across the board, 50 years is, kind of the benchmark.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Baker.
Are we replacing them, or are we tendering out for the bridges?
So it really depends on the project and what's going in, and just the scale of the project. Anything that would tie the crew up for more than 6 to 8 weeks, I tend to tender out. If it's a multi-plate, we don't have the ability to put those together, so we tender those out as well. And then anything that's an actual bridge for bridge replacement is tendered as well. So we're doing anything that's a straightforward, pipe for pipe, regular style culvert replacement, or take the old bridge out and put in a regular style culvert. So we do up to 3.6 meter CSPs, so fairly big. Right now we're down in by Oasis, and we're putting in about a 76 meter long 2700. So one of the longer ones we've ever done, but keeps us busy in the winter.
You have a limited time though too, right? For there's only certain ones that you can do at certain times because of the.
Yeah, the real challenge with the pipes is with the irrigation, right, with the canals. Really, we only have between October and May every year to get those done. Freeze up really becomes a challenge with the pipes, so that really shrinks it down to October to December typically. So it really limits what we can do with the canals. As far as your regular creeks and things go, fall's again typically the best time because you're dealing with lower water levels and things like that. And again, before freeze up. It's not to say that you can't do things over the winter. It's just it's a lot more money, a lot more time. Some of the other smaller creeks and waterways, tributaries, things like that, if they dry up, I mean, then we can hit them earlier in the year if all the approvals and things are in place. But generally, fall is your go time for these things.
Well, thanks.
Go ahead.
Can you remind me about the rating system? I know I asked about it too. One is a failure, right? Then 2, it gets progressively better, I guess, is that how it works?
Yeah, that's correct. So they're rated on a 1 to 9 system. So basically the day you put it in, would be a 10, and then it goes to a 9 right away kind of thing. So, and then, 1 being, this is absolute failure, close the road, nobody's allowed over this bridge. 2 is kind of an immediate action notice, right, where you should do something to mitigate this because there's a major problem here, and your next step is to close the road after that. So generally, you want to be replacing things when you're hitting 3s and 4s, kind of on your structural ratings, because that's kind of where things are getting poor condition and not really worth fixing. Now, that's not to say that there's some elements that you couldn't repair and then bump that life back up with that bridge. So when you're looking at these things, it's very element specific, but then it's the whole structure specific too. So it's 2 different kind of components to it, and it can be a challenge to try and to balance it all. But
Thank you.
Any other questions? Are we halfway through the bridge files? Are we like,
Well, we just talked about the start, so I can start to going through the projects now if you want. I'll just start running through them, and then if you want to stop me if you see something or you have a
Perfect.
question about.
that'd be the best way to go. Thank you.
All right. So this first one here, Atusas Creek realignment in Division 6. So the creek is washing the road shoulder out repeatedly over the years. There's also an undeveloped or unregistered bridge file at this location that will be replaced and will be bringing up the side curve in the road. Sorry. Bridge file 00467. This is a replacement of twin 3,000 millimeter pipes in Serviceberry Creek within Division 5. This was identified a couple years ago for full replacement. We looked at a couple options for replacing it, and the DFO basically said that no, you can't put a floor or anything in these because of fish passage and everything else. So it's a full replacement. We do have a STIP grant for this project, so for 75% of the construction, so that'll be starting next year. Bridge file 7925. So this is post-construction, just fencing left. Bridge file 8638. This one was done this fall, so construction is completed. So just fencing and deficiency repairs for next year. Bridge file 13558. This one again, just fencing and deficiency repairs next year. Bridge file 13701. So this is a replacement of a 1951 wooden bridge on Range Road 222, or sorry, Township 234. And this would be prelim engineering for next year for replacement in 2026 by internal forces. Bridge file 7507. This is detailed design and construction for next year. That'd be a contract job. We will be replacing this bridge with another bridge. So this one is 1953. So lasted a long time. Bridge file 7627. This is a replacement of a 1957 bridge size pipe on Range Road 255 in Division 3. And this would be done by internal forces next year. Bridge file 71954. So this is just fencing, just tying this one off from next year. Bridge file 73714. This is one that we talked about over by Oasis. So crews are working on this right now. So just fencing deficiencies for next year. 74132. So this is the one that we are pushing out to 2026 now. So that'll be prelim in 26. 74391. Fencing and deficiencies for next year. This was that really bad one where we had the road closed up by Rockyford back in the spring, and we did this project in the spring, which was really out of character for us, but we beat the flood, so got lucky on that one. Bridge file 74867. This one was done this fall by internal forces, so again, just fencing and deficiencies for the spring. 75851. Prelim engineering of a 1951 bridge over a canal on Range Road 255 in Division 4. And I believe this is the main canal, so it will be most likely be a bridge replacing this again. And that's prelim engineering for next year, replacement 2026. 75852, this is construction next year, replacement of a 1966 bridge over the main canal on Township 224. Division 3. So this will be I think this is a bridge going back into this location as well. There's a few numbers here that are very similar. They're all kind of on the same main line, and you'll see that on the mapping specifically, where if you look, you'll notice on that main canal coming out of the Langdon Reservoir there, that we're basically replacing all of those bridges within the next 5 years on that main canal. They're all shot. So Bridge file 76863. So this was one of the ones that we touched on. So this one is on Range Road 265 in Division 3 there, again, on the main canal. And this is the one that we'll be restricting and bumping the budget up to 120K. And the reason for bumping that budget up is so that we can, instead of just doing prelim in the first year, we can do detailed design, approvals, all that stuff, and try and see if we can get this thing in the spring. And if we can't, we'll be guaranteed to get it in early fall. Bridge file 79522. This one is under construction right now by a contractor down in Division 3 on that main canal again. So just some deficiency items for next year. And this is a pipe bore on Township 270. This one, we tendered the project this year. The contractor wasn't able to get it done before the end of the year here. So it's scheduled to begin in the start of February currently. So that's why you'll see that construction budget being pushed into next year. And then deficiency in 26, fencing. And that brings us to the end of that section.
Thank you. Any questions?
Through the chair, I have a question.
Yes.
Just wondering, with the extensive work that was completed on the asset management for the bridges, are we developing a longer term plan, like beyond this capital budget, for addressing all of our bridge infrastructure?
Yeah, through the chair, this is Corey Adamson. So we are developing a asset management master plan, which is underway right now, which includes all of our assets. And then coming out of that, they're going to be hyper focusing on each of the categories. And the bridge files, or the bridges, will be returning to the bridges and providing some feedback, which will also include some tangible capital asset finance information. So that is coming. It's just we're just not there yet. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. That's fantastic. And that's what I recalled. Do we have an update just on the timeline for completion of that work?
Through the chair, the master asset management plan, we were hoping to have it done by the end of the year, but I'd have to get back to you on the exact timelines. If I was to guess, it would be around February timeframe that we should have that part of it done. And then we'll be able to move on to the next piece. So we'll have a good overview by that time. And then we'll be able to start our hyper-focusing post-February-ish timeframe. Again, that is a guess, and I can get back to you on the exact times.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
Just to supplement, I guess, just a little bit quickly, being that we are still in development on the asset management plan. This 5-year budget, I'm planning in the background. I'm up to, probably 10 years at all times kind of thing. So, and then the big thing to know with bridges is they run on a 52-month inspection cycle, generally speaking. So, unless that's been shortened for whatever reason, whatever maintenance reasons, but typically 52-month cycle. So I'm, coming up, I'm just over 4 years in this position now. So this year will be the last round of inspections where I'll have actually had eyes on every asset now when these inspections are done. So, we're fairly confident on the data, and I know the asset management work we did previously on the bridge plan kind of aligns with what I'm seeing. So we know we're on the right track, that we are in that bubble, and we are, coming to the end of it, hopefully in this 5 to 6 year range. But part of the big reason we've upped that operating budget on bridges over the last few years and putting almost close to $500,000 a year into bridges is to try and, increase the life cycle of some of these bridges. So we're not seeing 10 bridges that need to be replaced in a year, right? We're trying to get them out 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. So try and spread that load out, that capital load out over the next, decade, as opposed to seeing we're doing 6 to 8 bridges a year right now. I mean, it would be probably 10 to 12 if we weren't doing that repair work on the operating side and spreading that load out, so.
That's
Thank
very
you.
helpful. Thank you.
Any other discussion? That takes care of the bridges. We can move on.
All right, next up, everybody's favorite, road construction. That's one of my favorites. So we got, again, if you can refer to your maps, that'll probably help you visualize where these things are. Just kind of get a feel for the year over year, a little easier than the table that you're seeing here. The big thing, I guess, to note with the road construction is I try to balance it out a little bit with the paved road side and what's going on there, so that trying to not overload one year with both budgets, trying to balance them out. It might have a little less in road construction, a little more in paved, and vice versa. So trying to find a balance. So Range Road 205, this is just post-construction. There's some fencing left on that one for next year. Range Road 220A alignment. This was a project that was approved by council this year to rectify the right-of-way alignment for 220A. So the negotiations are still ongoing, and we've just carried that budget forward for next year. Range Road 243A. So this one was completed internally late summer here this year. And it is just post-construction deficiencies, some fencing, some land payments, things like that for next year. Range Road 244. So again, post-construction, this one should have been done this year, but we had some issues with some grass reestablishing. So we have some fencing left in place for a couple of years to let that come in for that one landowner. Township 215A. This is in post-construction, again, was completed by internal forces in the early summer. So just fencing and some seating and things like that left for next year. Township 222. So this is the full reconstruction and paving of 1.1 kilometers down in Division 3 for access to a new development that's going on down there. We are applying for a STIP grant for this project, hoping see some success on that. So I believe that application just went in this week. And that there is a cost contribution agreement in place with the developer, so they'll be covering the paving costs of this road. So even though the full budget is here, you'll see that savings later on when that all kicks in. Questions on that one? No. Township 230, this was completed by a contractor this summer. So just some deficiency items for next year down in Division 1. Township 240, so this is our big road project for next year. It's been in engineering for 2 years now. We have submitted for our viral approvals. Land is nearly complete, so we're anticipating we're going to be tender ready kind of within the next first few months of 25. So again, reconstruction of 2 miles of roadway, semi-undeveloped roadway, reconstruction of about 1.5 miles of existing developed road, and then a half mile of new construction around Cheadle there. And this also includes the higher price tag is because we're replacing the bridge file at Range Road 263 as part of this project, upsizing it. So that's why it's a little higher than your usual, million per mile that you kind of see. Any questions on that one?
That will start this spring?
If the approvals go as planned, yes. It should start this spring. It might be July potentially, just depending on that timeline, 6 to 8 months on approvals. So if it's 6 months, it'll be closer to spring. If it's 8 months, closer to summer.
And it'll start, the construction basically will start from 270 and work towards Highway 24, is that the,
That's what we were planning. It's a little up in the air right now. We found some issues with just some of the water line clearances and stuff that we're combating. So we are going to end up being shorter on borrow material than we would like. We're looking for about 12,000 ton of materials. So we're still trying to figure that out, where that's going to come from, whether it's contractor sourced, hauled in. If we can find a landowner that's willing to work with us, then that'll make it a lot easier. But the general plan would be to start west to east.
thank you. Any questions on that particular file? You can go ahead then.
So this one is next project. It's mislabeled here. We had I don't know what happened. We had a Questica issue, but so this is actually Township 250 at Range Road 214 intersection. So just note that error in there, and we'll get that corrected for final approval. So this is realigning Township 250 at Range Road 214 to line the intersection back up. This is where the old rail line used to go through this area. So this project will be completed internally in 2026. So prelim engineering for next year. And the reason for the project is to improve the sight lines and usability of the intersection, improve traffic flow at the intersection. We already own the land when the rail line went defunct or whatever, abandoned. We do have that land in place already as well, so it's just a matter of moving the dirt over. Township 264 reconstruction. So this is reconstruction of 4 miles from Highway 56 to Range Road 203. It would be tendered. 2 years of prelim engineering, construction 2027. There is a large hill on this one that everybody in the area is very familiar with at Range Road 201. There's an intersection kind of just over the crest of the hill. So when you're going westbound, it's quite dangerous if you're trying to pull out across there with a semi or something like that, because you can't actually stop in time if you pop over that hill and there's someone pulling out. So, I mean, we try and avoid hauling that way when we can because of that intersection. So it is definitely, it's a dangerous one that we've identified. And this project's been on the book for a number of years now. And the landowner, prelim engineering was done once, and landowners were all signed up for this 4 miles of this project, and then it was deferred in 2020. And we're just getting back to it now here. So I'd like to get this one going again and meet our commitments to these landowners. Township 272, Rosebud West Access. This is the little project that keeps on going, to put it nicely. So we ran into just a whole hurdle of environmental problems because this portion that it crosses is part of the Rosebud, or considered part of the Rosebud River. So the environmental portion was a challenge. So we got it all sorted out now. We're just prepping the tender. So this project will get tendered in the new year and is basically shovel ready at this point. And that's to improve landowner access. There's only one way in, one way out of that area. So we have at least 3 to 4 residences over there that when this floods in the spring, or which it has in the past, they end up trapped over there until the water recedes. So this should make it so they don't have those issues anymore. So right-of-way alignments. So this one is kind of an ongoing project that we've put in here year over year. And we've actually had this in operating last year as I think it was $120,000, I think. Is that right? 150? 150,000 in operating. And we've reduced it down to 60 to kind of keep it with the intent of what it's here for, and moved it into capital because it is a land acquisition budget. So it should be within capital, not operating. And the intent is just to repair these little right-of-way issues that come up through the year through third-party approvals, subdivisions, things like that, where you just like this little section of road is out of the actual alignment and it's, low cost to fix. Just so we don't have to bring all these little ones back to council. The intent would be anything that is larger, kind of above that $30,000 range is kind of what we budgeted to be able to do 1 or 2 of these a year. Anything larger than that would obviously come back to council, just like 228 or anything like that. So that's the intent of this budget, is just to make things a little simpler and deal with these little one-off right-of-way alignment issues that come up. Township 280, this is post-construction. Again, just some fencing, deficiency elements, things like that. And that brings us to the end of road construction.
Any discussion on road discussion? Any on road construction? Yes, Councillor Kester.
I believe. Off of the first part off the 21 was rebuilt up the hill there when we did the other side of the highway. But from there to the Rocky Ford Road was on the building program, but I don't see it around anymore. What's the future for that road?
So that one, I think there's 4 miles left, I believe.
Yeah, I think about 4.
Yeah, and I recall the project, and it's still in the long term, we still have it there. We know that it's something that needs to be done. The big thing is the traffic counts. I think there were 50 to 60 cars a day, I think, on that one. So we're just pushing the higher traffic count projects to the forefront. And then stuff like that. I mean, like I said, it's still there. We're still aware that, they'll get that one done. That would finish that road off. So it's something we'd like to do, but it's just with the reduced program and only doing, 4 to 5 miles a year, it's going to be a while before we get there.
Yeah, the trucks have a hard time pulling that hill there.
Mm-hmm.
It's two slopes on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the other road leaving Rocky Ford going east. I don't know what that road is. And the Grasswald system, is that still on the list too? Or? The winter time's the hardest time for that road is.
Yeah.
Like a tunnel.
And it's a windy, long road. And there's not a lot of residences that live directly on that road. So it's not something that I would say is on the short-term or near-term plan.
Yeah.
It would be quite a ways out, I would think, at this point, unless something pushes it to the forefront.
Any other questions? If not, we can now go on to paved roads.
Okay, so for the paved roads, you kind of see the name on the map doesn't quite match the budget, and that's because I've been playing with it to try and make it work for what we're actually doing with our program and our maintenance and all the different things that we're doing. So, so again, just trying to balance this out with what we've got going on the road side, so we're not overloading one year too much. You'll also see that there's hamlet work within the paved road program, because most of the roads within the hamlets are surfaced in some way. They won't be identified on your map. So the first one we have here is Muirfield Boulevard. This is planned for construction next year in tangent with the next couple projects to replace some of the poor sub-base areas within Muirfield Boulevard, replace any broken sidewalks, curbs, that sort of thing, and then put the final top lift on this thing. We'll also be installing some speed humps as part of this project and improving the golf cart crossings and stuff across the roadway. And so this, I believe there's a distinct reserve for Muirfield that this budget comes out of, so this will be coming out of that. And again, Muirfield to close, this is the next one, same thing, this will all be happening at the same time. And then Muirfield Crescent. And so the intent on this one, we did identify last year, and council approved us to do prelim engineering on the first half of Muirfield Crescent up to the close last year. So that scope was added. And so the construction of that portion will be occurring the same time as the other two projects. And then prelim engineering on the second half of the Crescent will be 2026 and construction in 2027. And the intent would be that engineering and construction work would happen for St. Andrews and Cott's Close all at the same time. So we're kind of doing everything in two big projects to wrap this one up. Range Road 233 chip seal overlay. So we previously had this divvied out into 2 different years because we were doing it internally. We're now going to contract this project just because of the experience and stuff we have with the crew right now. They're still learning. I'd rather them not learn on one of our major roadways. So we will be contracting it out. The cost is very comparable. So I don't anticipate it's going to be more than what it would be to do internally. So we're going to do the full 10 miles from Highway 1 to Highway 564, and that's to resurface the road, put a new rear surface on there, seal up all the cracks. You'll see when the crew does all the crack sealing, you notice that the more tar there is on the road, the worse the road is basically. So once we start seeing extensive longitudinal cracking, alligator cracking, things of that nature, that's when this happens. If we get into severe rutting of the roadway, then it's too far, right? Then we look into doing pavement overlays. So right now is the optimal time to do this before it gets any worse. Range Road 255 MRO Division 3. So this was originally designed to be a 3.2 miles done in a single year. We split it out last year because of WID doing some ditch reclaiming and things in the area. We had to upsize a bunch of culverts across our road to account for that. So it got split out over 2 years. So we did 1 mile this year internally, applied that from Highway 24 across the tracks and to the Township 222 intersection. Had really good feedback from the landowners in the area. They're very happy with the work. So the intent would be, now the WID is finished off this year, that we will finish the rest of this road for 2.2 miles up to the 901.
Just a quick question. All MRO roads are done internally?
That's correct, yeah. There's not a lot of contractors out there that do it. There's some that claim they could do it, and I'm sure they can, but I can't see that they would do it cheaper than what we could do it for.
There was some talk about the county getting a heated tanker for doing MRO roads, or has that been taken care of, or have you decided that different type of oil can work without having to be heated or kept warm?
We have looked into the heated tanks, and I mean it's a nice to have. It's not a must have. With some really good planning, we make sure we don't have extra oil to carry over the winter, because without that heat, it'll separate out and it won't be any good. But so we've been managing, and as long as we're not going too far afield from the main here, it's not too bad. We can manage it that way. So as of right now, the short answer is no. We don't have heated tanks. But
thank you.
Range Road 270 reconstruction and paving. So this is just a short little project, 0.26 miles, and this is from Township 221 to the entrance to the Nutrien site, where they have that multi-story office building there. This little section of roadway averages about 750 cars a day, and we've seen up to 870 cars a day on it. I mean, we can't blade it fast enough for how quick it washboards up again. It's a substandard 1960s road that was never upgraded, and we just can't keep up to it, right? So for safety reasons, I mean, we feel that this road should be upgraded, widened out, reconstructed, paved, and then also we're going to look at the intersection of 221 and 270. We altered it to a 3-way stop a couple years ago. Previously, it was a 3-way stop, and then it went to a flow through. around the corner, and then we went back to a three-way stop because of safety concerns raised by the plant. When they do their large shutdowns, the amount of traffic that flows through that intersection could be up 1,200 cars a day. So it gets quite a bit for a three-way stop to handle. So we're going to look at different options, make sure that we're, that it's functioning the way that it should. It's still safe. I don't really want to go to a roundabout or something of that nature at that location, but I mean, we will explore all the options and see what works best for that. So that'll be part of this little project. Any questions on that one?
Through the chair, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
In terms of developing that intersection, would there be engagement done with Nutrien?
Yes, absolutely. There would be. We'd be looking to obtain at least 5 meters off of their property along their plant at minimum, just to do the road widening work and make sure that the intersection actually is straight, even if we don't do any other improvements to it. Because right now the existing gravel is kind of offset because the existing 270 pavement is a 30-meter right away. So there will be talks with them regardless.
Fantastic, thank you. Obviously we want to ensure that, whatever we're doing aligns with their operational efficiency.
Yeah, and then through the chair, they have my number, so I mean they keep in touch. They let me know when they're having issues.
Very good.
Township 230 overlay. So this one was completed this year, overlay of Glenmore. So there's just a couple land payment elements that are still outstanding. We're just waiting on land title registration. Otherwise, that project's done.
I have a question to administration. So we've done as good a job as we can do with that guardrail that's going across the canal, the WID canal there at between 255 and 253. My question is, why are we held under such a high standard for guardrails when I can go down on 244 in the town and there's not a guardrail across the WID canal? Like, why are we held to a higher standard than other municipalities seem to be? I mean, we have, I don't know, probably 400 or 500 feet of guardrail on that, which added a substantial amount to the paving job. And yet other municipalities just, like, you can fall into that canal really easily. So do you have any idea why that would be?
A lot of it boils down to site-specific characteristics and speed. Those are kind of the two big drivers. So in town, if a lot of your speed limits are, below 60K, 50K, that kind of range, those requirements shrink substantially. When you're dealing with 100K on Glenmore, the guardrails get longer, right? Because your travel time's faster, your stopping distances, all that stuff. So that's kind of the main driver. And then site specifics, that really just boils down to, the lay of the land, right, essentially. And I think, as you were aware, that guardrail was originally designed to be substantially longer, almost 65 meters longer than what it ended up being. And we were able to reason with the engineers about safety and drifting snow and things of that nature. And they took that into account and came back with the design that they ended up with. And we felt that it was a nice kind of midway point. I don't know how the drifting has been so far this year. I haven't had a chance to talk with the crews about that. But I haven't heard anything from the landowners that were concerned originally. I haven't heard anything to this point. So we're hoping that, it's working for them. But now that we've been through a harvest and a snowfall and things, but we'll just have to monitor that one as it goes.
Thank you.
Township 250 reconstruction and paving. So this is kind of our big project that's been ongoing here for the last couple of years. We've been in engineering for the last 2 years on this one. We have all the land in place. We've got our enviro approvals in place. So we're expecting to be tender ready by the end of the year. 2025 is planned for reconstruction of 1 mile between Range Road 264 and Range Road 263. Additionally, replacing bridge file, what's the number of that one? 75049. And so that bridge, if this project were to not go ahead, that bridge would have to come back as a separate project and be done next year regardless. It has a 2 rating right now and it's at end of life. So wrapping that one into this one is a must. And then the rest of 2025 budget will be for replacement of some centerline culverts within the canals and some approach upgrades along the rest of the project. And then 2026 and 2027 would be paving 4 miles each year. Again, split that out. It was last year we were kind of planning to do it all in 1 year, but because of the cost, we've split it out over 2 years to make it a little easier to swallow. So we anticipate that completing this project is going to be a big benefit to the area. It's going to draw a lot of the side roads connecting to this road have substantially high traffic counts. A lot of the gravel roads in this area are 100, 150, 200 cars a day. So we're trying to really draw that into a main artery and reduce the maintenance and the wear and tear on some of those gravel roads. The reason that 250 was chosen is that the majority of the right of way is already at 30 meters. The majority of the road was already widened. The intent was to always kind of pave this one in the background. It's been on and off the budget for many years, as most are aware. So it's the least amount of work to get this in. And then 250 also lands right dead smack in the middle between Highway 1 and Highway 564. So kind of balances right in the middle. Any questions on that one?
Yeah, just to administration, have we had any discussions with Rocky View? Because I believe there's a short piece of land from the grain elevator to the county, to their county line. Have we had any discussions on I know we had original discussions. I just don't know if there's been any follow-up on that.
There's been a lot of informal discussion. They're aware of it. We're aware of it. It's kind of a matter of who's going to do it first, I think, at this point. I think we have 2 miles left to do after this is complete, and they'll have 1.5 miles, I think. And then that'll connect everything through to, I believe it's McKnight into Calgary, and it would be a nice throughway from 817 all the way to the grain elevator for our ag producers. So I think when we get around to doing that 2 miles, we'll definitely want to have a conversation, try and combine forces and, save some costs by doing that whole section together.
Thank you. Any questions on paved roads? We'll move on to equipment, I guess.
Okay, so fleet this year, we've kind of come back to a normalized budget, I would say, compared to the last couple of years. We are starting to see the supply chain catch up a little bit. Took a long time. I didn't know if we were going to get everything that was on our budget for this year, but it all did come in. So it's kind of great to see things kind of drop back down to a normal level and starting to catch up a little bit on some of this stuff. So our first unit is replacement of a wide angle mower for the hamlet crew. Just general mowing and stuff that that's used for around the hamlets, transfer sites, all the county buildings, use it for everything there. So this unit, it's just end of life. It's got an aftermarket cab. You can't get parts for the cab anymore, or the air conditioning system is pretty well shot. So just can't keep this one running to date anymore. So we're looking to replace this one with a 14-foot, so stepping it up a little bit wider to help mow a little more, a little faster. Next one here is replacement of 2 of our 14M motor graders. So standardly, we replace these traditionally around 10,000 hours. I've kind of bumped that out over the years. We're running to closer to 12,000 now, just getting a little more life out of them. With the increased cost, it's worth running them a little longer. So we are doing that. We are seeing some of them, hitting 13,000 by the time we're getting the replacements in. The last couple of years, the replacement timelines have been close to 18 months on these. They've gotten it down closer to 12 now. So we are, still like to plan ahead, get that order in so that, we're not getting behind on these things. The big reason for replacing them around that 10 to 12,000 hour mark is reliability, higher chance of transmissions, engines, those kind of things going. You're usually 60,000 a pop once you start doing transmissions and engines, and then after that you get into hoses and electrical and all this stuff that just starts wearing out. So reliability is kind of a big thing for us compared to most contractors, just because they need to be out there, they need to be blading the roads, they need to be plowing the roads, and all those things. Next one is 3/4 ton pickups. So this is just 3 units. So again, we were through that kind of big bubble from a few years ago when we were scrambling to get lots of trucks and they were taking a long time to get here. So we should be seeing about 2 to 3 kind of on average going forward for pickups, just to kind of keep a regular rotation on these. They're all predicted to be over 240, 250,000 K at the time of replacement. This next one is a boom mower. So their existing unit is this little John Deere tractor we have in this picture here with this side mower unit on it. The boom mower itself is totally wore out. We've rebuilt it a number of times. It probably mows about 80 miles a year for the reclamation crew when they do all of our road shoulder reclamation. We also utilize it for mowing lagoons and storm ditches and things within the hamlets in the fall. We did look at salvaging the tractor because it does not have a lot of hours on it, and I realize that. The problem is that this boom mower is so integrated into the tractor that you have to pull the cab off, the rear end off. There's missing frame parts and everything else that we'd have to try and figure out what we need to rebuild this thing to put it back together. So taking it apart is very difficult and very expensive. The other side of it is, okay, you could just drop the mower and just use the tractor part. It's just not big enough for anything that we do. It's undersized, it's too small. It's the smallest tractor we have, and we just don't have a use for it. If we saved it, we wouldn't use it. It'd just sit. So we're looking at going to, the other main thing I'll mention on this one with this boom mower is that the tractor, again, like I said, was undersized. So we continuously split the rims on this side here, these dual rims. We split those off about 2-3 times a year where we almost lose the wheels off of this thing. And so we're looking at going to these self-contained units that you see pictured in the next picture here. And the reason for that is it's purpose built for this application, and you don't see the side loading issues and things that you do with the tractors. Pricing it out, they're almost relatively the same. They were a few thousand, like $10,000, $20,000 difference. And then this unit, also you can get different types of attachments for the heads. So we can get brushing attachments for mowing down Caraganas and things like that. There's some saw blade attachments for cutting bushes and things. So there, there's different options we could look at using it for besides just mowing. It's really kind of come to light the last couple of years that the tractors don't like to be side loaded. We've seen it as well on the ag side with the tire mowers that we were trying out there for a while. One of our, we've already gotten rid of one, and the other one, the tractor that was running it this year split the rear end. So we had to replace the whole rear end in it because it just cracked it. So it's really come out that these tractors don't like to be side loaded regardless of what the vendors are saying. So really pushing for that self-contained, purpose-built unit for this application.
Cody?
Yeah.
When you get that mower, would it be that ditch that leaves Rocky Ford and goes south and then goes down the access road, and it's full of bulrushes? Mm-hmm. That really slows the floodwaters down when they come, especially if you get some snow in there and that gets a solid block of ice. Would there be any, I think it would really help if you would mow that in the fall and just kind of clean that ditch out so the water would run better.
Yeah, I mean, any of those areas where if we can reach them with a mower or a boom mower, I mean, and improve the flow, then absolutely. I mean, if anybody has any of those areas they're aware of, I mean, let us know and we'll do our best to get them mowed, and it just makes things flow a lot nicer in the spring for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
That's kind of something we've been doing in the hamlets the last 5 or 6 years, is we've been pre-mowing all the storm ditches in the fall in Gleason and in Carsland and stuff, and it's made a world of difference, I think, on the flooding in the spring. So yeah, this next one, kind of excited about. This is proposing to go to B-Train belly dump trailers for a gravel crew. So we're looking into this. We're up in kind of around the boundary there and saw Foothills dragging a few of these around, and hey, we should look into that. And it turns out that, you know, we can haul 40% more using one of these units than we can with our standard tri-axle belly dumps. Basically what that equates to is that running 2 of these is the same as hiring another guy and running another truck, essentially. So that's what that works out to tonnage wise. So, I mean, just a heck of a good savings on, you know, fuel and the number of trips, wear and tear on the truck, haul more gravel, less people, all that stuff. I think it's all around win. And then if you still need one trailer, you can obviously just split it and run the one unit. So hoping to purchase 2 of these this year, replace 2 of our existing older units that are over 10 years old, almost 12 years old, I guess, and replace them with these, test them out for a year, and if we like them, we might buy 2 more.
Can you stockpile with a belly dump? Does it work? I mean, the calf has to push more.
The biggest problem is that a lot of the stockpile sites are just so small.
Yeah.
To try and spread it out would be quite difficult. We did look at going to side dump belly dump units for that purpose. We looked at, you know, end dump, side dump combination units for that purpose, and it's this a lot of the sites being, you know, under 2 acres. There's just not enough room when you're running multiple trucks to spread that material out as you're turning and, you know, doing those multiple loops to try and get everything emptied out. So not something that we look at right now, but I mean, maybe in the future if we get some bigger sites that are better designed. I mean, trying to work with what we got right now. So yeah, so stockpiling, it wouldn't be a thing we're looking at changing for the moment, the way we're running it. So the next one is replacement of our Class 7 patching truck. And so the reason this one is kind of a trickle-down effect. So we're looking at replacing this truck with a newer unit, and then taking the existing unit, we're going to pull the box off of it, put a hitch on it, and that will then replace our shunt truck in our main shop yard here, which is what is it? What's the year on this thing? 1988. So, you know, it's been around a long time. It's not roadworthy. We having a hard time finding parts for it anymore outside of the scrapyard. So, but I mean that, you know, it's just for moving trailers and things around from the yard into the shop and back out and that sort of nature. So you don't really want to use something that's a big dollar value for that. So taking a truck that's, you know, halfway through its lifespan and turning it over into the shunt truck, we'll get another 20, 30 years out of it. And then obviously just get a newer unit for the road side of it. So just trying to be the most cost effective in our replacements and not buy a $180,000 truck just to move trailers around the yard kind of thing, right? So. Class 8 highway tractor. So this is replacing an existing unit that it's used for the Muirfield waste hauling. This unit is predicted to have over 500,000 K and over 10,000 hours, which is kind of our standard replacement timeline on these trucks. Same kind of things, the graders, reliability, you know, maintenance costs, amount of downtime, all that stuff. That's kind of where we hit that level on these. So to replace one of those units. Class 8 plow truck with sander. So this is for a new tandem plow truck with a sander on it for our paved roads. Essentially, we try to keep, to meet our service targets and our what we've set within the county. We try to keep about 30 road miles per unit. So bringing this unit on board, I think will take us down about 28 miles per unit, if I recall correctly. And then we also are, we're running 5 operators now, full-time to keep up with everything on our surfaced roads. So when I say surfaced roads, MRO, seal coat, paved roads, that's what we're talking about in this. So we're, I think, believe we're at 145 point something miles of surfaced road now in the county. So it's gone up substantially over the last number of years with the MRO program. So bringing another truck on, like I said, just to meet those service levels, that'll put us at 7. That'll put 2 in reserve. So in the event of breakdowns, you know, extra severe events, things of that nature. So that'll leave us 5 running and 2 in reserve. So it's kind of where we like to be. 4 backups on things is sitting at 2 units. So it's always a good place to be. We will end up having to replace another unit next year, but just looking at this new one for now.
I'd like to compliment the staff on this recent snows. That Rocky Ford Road and the access road are completely bare, just top notch. Just go over on the 21 and you're taking your life in your hands. I think it was last Tuesday, I come home from here and took the 21. There was a truck that spun up going up that hill there by Denbour's. And there must have been, I don't know, 50 bushel of barley on the road. He had dumped some barley to try and get some traction on it. So, and then you go over to the Rocky Ford Road and it's just completely bare. Good job.
We appreciate that. The crew was out there working hard this time, and we kind of like to use the highways as our gauge about how we're doing. So, I mean, if all the calls we're getting aren't about our roads, I mean, we call that a success. So, you know.
Good job. Is there any way, when I went home last Tuesday, they worked on that 21 from the 1 all the way to the 564 going to Standard. But after that intersection, I think it looked exactly the same as it did in the morning. There was no plow marks in it or anything, and icy as, like, trucks couldn't climb the hill anymore. That's how bad it got. And it was frozen hard. We're down below the 564. It was wet from the salt, you know. It's just like they forgot that piece of road. I just told people to phone whoever, but still, it's it's bad for the company too, right?
Yeah, there seemed to be a lot of calls coming out of that kind of northeast area, and I'm not sure what happened there. I know there was some confusions, and I'm not sitting, you know, I don't know if it was on the operational side or not, but I know we were directing people to call Volker, and then Volker was directing people to call us, like, on some instances. So you know, that might have just been a communication piece, not necessarily their operators, right? So, but you know, I think we've hopefully got all that resolved now. We did talk to them and confirm that, yes, those are your roads. You know, like, please stop telling people there are roads, right? So we did have that conversation with them, and you know, with regards to why ours are bare and why the highways have so much ice on them right now, I mean, I can't really speak to it. I don't know if it was just bad timing or more traffic, or if it, you know, was the salt brine, or you know, I'm not really sure, right, without knowing what specifically they did. But I mean, you can get caught when plowing if you put the wrong material or down at the wrong time. You end up with a bad situation, and we've seen that on Highway 1 a few times over the years in my lifetime, even where, you know, you end up with a couple inches of ice on the highway and they're out there trying to chip it off because, you know, someone salted when they shouldn't have salted or something like that. And it's happened to us too, absolutely. And you know, it really just comes down to knowledge and experience and knowing when to put that material down. But at the end of the day, weather's weather, and it shifts on you, and sometimes you get caught, right? just do the best that you can. So this next unit is a drive over transfer conveyor. So this is one of the things that kind of we identified within our procedures as being a bit of an environmental issue. Dumping, when we get salt or potash delivered here, it's delivered in belly dump B trains. So our salt shed is not very wide. So when they dump, they tend to drag that material out the doors and however long it goes until it's off the trailer. And then we try and scoop it all up with the loader and get it back in where it needs to be. Obviously, you know, you get it mixing with snow, you get runoff. Salt contamination is kind of a big concern, and the county's paid a lot of money to clean that up in the past in different locations. So this is something that would allow them to unload within the tent, within the contained area, so we're not getting that contamination out and away from the footprint of the building. So yeah, it's in a nutshell. Any questions on that one?
The telescoping too?
It is not, but it just lifts. So it can go up to, I think, about 5-6 feet high, and then you're just shooting it further. So then it would ideally shoot it out from, like, take it up away from the truck, shoot it out into a pile, and then right in front of the bunker where that loader just pushes it right into the bunker, all within the tent. So. And then the next one is replacement of replacement of one flat deck unit and then one new flat deck unit. So the bigger one on the left here, looking to replace this one, is a very long trailer, extremely long trailer, 35 feet. It has a huge beaver tail on it. It doesn't hold up. It's bouncing down the road. We've broken it off a number of times now, and our welder's getting tired of rebuilding it. It's been rebuilt about 4 or 5 times now. So if you're looking to just get a similar type unit, but a little shorter, a little more user-friendly. Most of the guys don't like to pull it. So this one, this newer one here, is a tilt deck with about a 10-foot front deck on it. And it is going to be purpose bought for a machine that was coming up here later in the budget for clearing pathwalks and sideways that are maintained by the county. And I'll expand on that more here when we get to this other one. So intermodal chassis. So this is our site trailer for our gravel crew when they're operating out of the gravel pits, or various gravel pits that we have. So we're not replacing the office trailer itself. It is in decent shape. It's basically a C-can office, and it's put on an intermodal trailer, on an intermodal chassis. So just like a C-can would be. So the chassis was bought and used. The frame is starting to crack on it. We've welded it and patched it a few times, but it's to the point it needs to be replaced. It's getting to the point where it's beyond repair with the amount of cracking happening in the frame. So just replacing that chassis, and then we'll just pick that whole can up and put it on the new unit. So this one for peace officer unit, this unit was already purchased this year. This is just carryover to upfit the unit. We're waiting on parts. They're just on back order right now with the vendors. So once we get that in, we can put all the radios and things in it, and that's what this is for. Excuse me. Shop equipment and tools. So this is our ongoing budget for replacement of shop equipment as it breaks. So it's like pictured there, right? New jacks, compressors. We bought a part washer this year. We bought a tire changer last year. So some of those bigger dollar item pieces of equipment within the shop that are usually range, $5 to $8 grand kind of thing to buy a new one. So it's just an ongoing budget for replacement items, and we only use what we need. Snow push. So we are looking at purchasing a snow push for a 938 loader, yard loader. So this will help with clearing of the yard, getting a 16-foot snow push so we get less wear and tear on the loader, less back and forth in the yard, do it a little faster, clean things up. We can also take it into the towns when we're clearing streets. If we windrow everything in the middle, we can use that to push everything up speed that up a little bit as well. So something we're looking at, just greater efficiency in snow clearing around the yard in the towns. Trench compactor. So we did buy one of these last year. And so we would have 2 units. The older unit that we were keeping as a spare and as our second unit for pipe replacements blew the engine. And then we weren't able to get a replacement engine. They don't make them anymore. So now we're looking to buy another one again. So we'll have 2 again. So this is what I alluded to there when talking about the flat deck trailers, this utility work machine. As you're aware, the county has been constructing a number of pathways over recent years, and there's a few more coming up on the budgets. These pathways are 2 meters wide. So significant, clearing, it's a significant task to clear them, right? So I can't remember the exact amount of kilometers in pathway we've added, but it is going to get bigger and bigger. With the Galician pathway that's planned, I think there's a Carsland pathway that's planned. Potentially some possibility we might end up having to plow the Trails to the Bow pathway in the future if that ever goes ahead. So things like that where we might be required to do it. Speargrass itself, we've got the pathway to the park. And then depending on how things go with the community association, whether they want to keep maintaining the rest of the pathway or we maintain it. So it's something that's getting bigger and bigger. With the addition of Muirfield as well, a few years ago, we took on a significantly large number of county maintained sidewalk along county property. So that's getting bigger and bigger as well. So we spent quite a bit of time this year looking at different machines. You would have seen a machine that we rented and was kind of running around here for a while. It was a goofy looking thing with a mower on the front. So we were testing out different items, looking at what could work, looked at what Calgary has, looked at what Strathmore has, looked at different municipalities, and trying to find something that would work for us has been very challenging for clearing pathways. Currently we have some of our Toro mowers set up with snow clearing equipment on it. It works okay. It doesn't work great. And then with all this extra pathway, it's like I said, it's getting more and more. And they're not ideal and they're not purpose built for that. And they're just not the best. So trying to find something that works for our situation has been a real challenge, because a lot of these municipalities like Calgary or a lot of these urban municipalities, they can go out from their main yard, they can clear their pathway. If they run into trouble, they need to change and implement whatever, they can just drive back to the main shop, drop it, switch it on the other one, and away they go again. For us being so rural and all of our towns being separated so far apart, you got to take everything with you, right? And that's the challenge, is to take all of your implements and everything you need with you. And when you get there, you got to be able to change it. You got to be able to get that stuff off the trailer. You got to be able to handle it, your sand, everything you need. And so looking at this unit, we think we finally found something that's going to work. So it basically has a loader kind of front end on it, I would say, as a comparable. And it's not quite accurate, but so it'll actually lift up to 12 feet high, right? So we can pick up sets stuff on the trailer on the front end of it, pick it off, change those implements. One guy can do it. Makes it really easy. We can put a little sander in the back of this unit for sanding the pathways up and down the hills like in Muirfield and stuff. So really just trying to find an all-around unit that can do everything we need it to do. The nice thing with this one as well is it does come with multiple attachments. We can put a broom on there, snow blower, V-plow, bucket, right? You can get stump grinders, you can get all kinds of different things. You can even put a mower on it. So it'd be nice as a backup mower if we ever have to get to that point. So really multi-function, does multiple things, and I think will be very beneficial to the Hamlet crew in clearing those pathways and sidewalks. And now you get a break from me. That brings us to the end for now.
Do we want to take a break, like a 5-minute break? Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be back at 10:35.
Good morning, Council. My name is Jose Podio Cuervo. I'm the Manager of Technical Services. And yeah, I'll be running you guys through the storm drainage, the water, and the sewer. So the first project for storm drainage is the Cheadle back lane and hull drainage. So this project was identified by our engineering consultants after doing investigation into the county's town or hamlets. This project involves regrading Cheadle's back lanes to fix some drainage issues and includes regrading Cheadle's hull and includes a culvert installation.
Any questions on that? We will move forward into water.
Yeah, now for water, there is one minor correction here in Redland. So it shows $150,000 in Redland budget for 2026. This was just an error on our part. It will all be done in 2025. So the project page is correct. The outline here is not. The first project is Goldfinch. So this is a project that has recently completed the engineering design. It's now in tendering with a closing date of November 26th. This project is slated to begin this winter with substantial completion planned for end of June. This project includes approximately 10.5 kilometers of pipeline, all being horizontal directionally drilled, and includes the construction of a well station and one pump house.
I've got one question. I'm just, the pipe is designed for 1355 acre feet. How many acre feet do we have of the water license we bought from, I forgot now. Antera, yes.
Yeah, through the chair, that water license, I believe, is 326 acre feet.
326?
Yeah, per year.
So this pipeline is designed so that if there's more industry coming along, they can reroute that through that pipeline, and so it's sort of like 3 or 4 times the size of the actual water license that we have.
Yes, we would need to obtain more water license in order to fill the capacity of that
Right,
line
but-
in the future.
But that's why it's designed that way, so that, okay, thank you.
Correct.
Go ahead, Donna, question?
Yeah, I want to know, the pipeline, does it, which side of the highway on 24 or 817, where does it cross over? And what's, like, on Highway 24, is it on the north side or the south side of the highway?
On Highway 24, it's going to be on the south side.
South side?
Yeah.
And where does it cross? Like, underneath the, at the bottom?
Sorry, on the east side, like along Speargrass Boulevard?
No,
Or-
where does it cross? Because it's on the
Range Road 262.
Range Road. There we go. Range Road 262.
So through the chair, for Range Road 262, it will cross west of 262.
Okay. 262. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, you can continue, Jose.
Thank you. The next project is Redland Water Servicing. So this is a project for 2025. The project is to service water to the residents of Redland under a full cost recovery model through a cost contribution agreement that's being drafted. This project includes about 600 meters of pipeline.
And another question I have on Redlands, do we have buy-in from the residents already?
Through the chair, we have spoken and reached out to all of the residents and had feedback of quite a bit of interest for connecting to the water line from most residents. Right now, we're working with legal just to finalize the cost sharing agreement that we will present to the resident, to council first, and then to the residents. And then once council has approved that cost sharing agreement, then we'll reach out to the residents again to get final signatures onto those agreements for all of the property owners who ultimately do want to connect to the line.
Thank you.
Silly question. I lived on the west side of the hamlet. Would I be allowed to connect directly onto that main line? As if I lived on that street, even on the other side of the road.
Through the chair, the way we've set up or designed the system is that it would be one connection to the main line and then coming through a water meter that gets metered and used for billing with the WRC. Every property within Redland, including those on First Street West, would be serviced through the county lines after that one main connection and meter to the WRC line. And sorry, just to further answer your question, there are besides that there are houses on the west side of First Street. There are some properties within the community further west than that. This current system that you see in front of you is phase one, as we called it. And it does support all of the residents off of the single Plainsman meter pit as shown. If there were additional residents to the west that came in the future and wanted connection, there was also contemplated phase two of the system that would service Main Street, that southern portion of I think it's Second Avenue, and then the properties to the west of First Street West. There are no properties there right now that would require servicing, so but it was contemplated as a potential future line if needed.
If anybody builds there.
Correct. Yeah.
But there's no contemplation for the rest of the houses. There's some a mile away to the west and some to the north. And on the other side of the road there's a one along the creek that's all up to them individually. They're in the county, not part of the hamlet.
Correct, through the chair. It's only contemplated for those within the community of Redland under that hamlet residential zoning.
Any other discussion? If not, you can continue.
So next up, we have water in Muirfield. So this one is just $40,000 in 2025 to complete the and landscaping at the water treatment plant in Muirfield.
Question to administration, should that 40,000, should that come from the Muirfield Reserve?
Through the chair, yes, it probably should.
There's no more questions about water. We'll move on to sewer.
So in sewer, we have the Gleason lift station repairs. This is a project that began in 2024 and is just trickling into 2025 with some minor deficiency work regarding the new generator and just an updated HVAC system at the lift station. And then last but not least, we have the Muirfield Wastewater Lagoon. So this is one that's currently in engineering. Our engineers are performing a site selection study, and they've identified 9 potential lagoon sites around Muirfield. So the lagoon is expected to discharge to Serviceberry Creek currently. And just a quick note, grant funding for the engineering has been approved for this one. So this is under the Municipal Affairs Grant. And we are currently in the process of submitting updated construction costs for grant funding for construction. That's slated in 2026. Just a quick note on this one. The budget for this one for 2025 is expected to change because we need to include land purchasing. So this cost is mainly engineering. So the updated costs are being drafted right now.
So this is seasonable release of the lagoon, it's not continuous.
That's right, it's seasonal.
Twice a year, once a year?
Through the chair, they're thinking once a year.
Once a year. Spring or fall?
Through the chair, I'm not sure.
They never release in the winter time, do they?
No, not winter.
If there's no more questions on sewer, we'll move on to waste management.
All right, back again. So just a couple projects for waste transfer sites. Lyalta Waste Transfer, this project's been on the books for a number of years now for constructing a new waste transfer site within Division 5, provide some relief to Wheatland West, which is our busiest site and is near capacity, I would say, with the amount of usership it receives. The big problem with this project for almost as long as I've been here is just trying to find land that's available within Division 5 for this purpose. So we are still working away on it, and we are in negotiations with the landowner right now. So obviously, depending on how that goes, that'll come back to council for approval. And see if they agree with what we found out. So continuing prelim engineering and hopefully land purchase for 2025 and then construction in 2026 pending all rezoning and approvals and all that sort of thing.
If we were to buy a garbage truck and say we had garbage pickup on whatever day it worked out and haul it to, here I see you got Rocky Ford, I think that's Rocky Ford on the one tip there, and haul it there when they load out and not have a transfer site, just pick up garbage at the Lakes of Muirfield and haul it over there, because we got to haul it to Drum anyway.
Through the chair, so curbside pickup isn't something that we've entertained to date within the county. I'm not sure if it's a route that council would want to look at for the hamlets or not. We know that with all this EPR changes and programming and things that are coming down the pipe, there's going to be some changes. We don't quite know what that's going to look like yet as far as the recycling side of things. So that could end up being door-to-door pickup, with bins, blue bins within the hamlets. It could end up being a lease at our existing transfer sites with Drumheller, and then putting large bins at our existing transfer sites for recycling. So that's really going to change the landscape of things a little bit for the amount of garbage coming in. And then just with the Lakes of Muirfield itself, the residents they're currently pay through their HOA fees to have garbage collection, so they manage that on their own currently. So this site isn't specifically for Muirfield, but per se, if they ever did stop collecting garbage, then we would then have all of those residents to service if they ever discontinued that service and we didn't bring in something different. But this is for beyond Muirfield, this is for the greater Division 5 area and all those residents. Because right now, everybody, whether they're on a farm or an acreage or within a town or hamlet or whatever, they all travel to either Rockyford or Wheatland West, whichever's closer to their area. So it's quite a distance to come from the north all the way down to Wheatland West, and just recognizing that it is quite a distance and there's quite a number of residences within that area, just trying to find something for them. So, I mean, curbside wouldn't address that bigger issue with all the acreages and stuff, so.
Where does Muirfield haul their garbage to?
I'm not sure exactly to where it goes, but they do have a contract with a third party contractor, and you know, whether it goes to the city or to Airdrie or Okotoks, like I'm not 100% certain on that, but yeah, I know it's not Drumheller. So Wheatland West fence replacement. This budget is to replace the existing fence on the north and south side of the property. It's end of life. I mean, it's made of T-posts and old page wire, and it's starting to fall down, and it's very short. So a number of the break-ins kind of happen over by the post office. You can see in the picture, they like to jump the fence in this area here and steal whatever they can. So, you know, just putting a chain link fence in there, a standard chain link fence. WTS, waste transfer site operator shack replacement. So this is additional budget from what we did this year. We replaced 4 of the shacks at 4 of the sites. So looking to again replace the remaining 4 shacks. They're all 20 to 30 years old. They don't have insulated floors or anything in them. They're just plywood on skids. 2x4 construction. A lot of them have been patched and repatched and patched some more. So, you know, some of them are pretty shaky to say the least, and just not very comfortable for the operators that have to spend, you know, 8 hours a day in there. So just looking to replace the remaining 4 of these shacks, and then we've added 2026 budget on there to upgrade the oil containment sheds. Most of those right now are just basically, you know, livestock shelters with where we're putting the 45-gallon drums for the oil filters and antifreeze and stuff. So getting actual small containment sheds where we can put that stuff inside. It's not running all over the ground and building up with snow and contaminating everything. So they're basically just at end of life, and so just getting something a little better and a little more, you know, to cover off our environmental liabilities a little bit. So.
Any more questions on waste management? And I guess we move on to cemeteries. Is that yours? Or is that somebody else's?
That's somebody else, but I don't know where Dave is, so we can come back to him though if you want. Is he here? Okay. I'll let him go before I do my last one.
Okay, yeah, okay, perfect. So we'll move on to we'll move on to ASB. I guess that would be George. So, thank you.
Through the chair, good morning, everyone. George from administration here to talk about our capital plans for this year, which is actually fairly simple. We are just looking to replace a 15-foot mower from 2014, and we'd like to keep this in the fleet as a spare or replacement. I'm sure between Cody and I, we will find a great use for it. It's great to have a spare as well. And you can also see our plan for moving forward. Starting next year, we'll start looking at some truck replacements and things like that. I'm here for any questions.
Any questions? So then I guess we move on to facilities. You're back.
This is normally Jose's area, but because there's only one project and it pertains to me, I'm going to present it. So this is the Public Works Yard Salt Shed Replacement. So I'll just kind of read here what we've written so I don't miss anything. But so the existing salt storage building located in the main Public Works yard is comprised of a 80 by 120 foot fabric covered steel framed superstructure supported on a concrete foundation. It was constructed in or around 2008. I wasn't able to nail down the exact year on that. A structural condition review of the building was completed in late 2023. The review determined that the canvas covering and the steel frame were at end of life, requiring replacement within the next 3 to 4 years. The steel frame of the building has extensive corrosion, with some of the trusses showing signs of physical damage, most likely being from struck by loading equipment, and was rated in poor condition. The concrete foundation was found to be in overall good condition with only superficial damage. It was determined through further review that replacement or repair of the steel structure would not be feasible or cost effective, as parts are no longer available through the manufacturer. Therefore, replacement of the canvas itself is not recommended, as it would not extend the useful life of the building. Replacement alternatives were then explored, and several manufacturers consulted regarding possible options for replacement of the structure. As the existing building is undersized for our current county operational needs, with requiring restocking of the shed 2 to 3 times per winter season, it is recommended that a larger facility be constructed to accommodate current operational needs with room for future growth. Quotes were obtained for a 100 foot by 200 foot replacement structure, with both steel and fabric structures on concrete foundations being considered. The steel structure being the preferred option was approximately 10% cheaper than the fabric option, surprisingly. And so we are planning, I have some pictures here of the existing building. And, whoa, I don't know what I did. It's running away. Sorry. Anyway, so the idea would be to basically install this building next year, just to the north of the existing building. Once it's complete, the existing building, we tear down the tent and then look at possibly reusing that foundation for future uses. Maybe putting a steel building on top of that foundation if it's in good shape. Once we've removed the steel structure and had a really good look at it, we'd have to make that determination. So that's why there's a 2-year budget on this replacement. Is the 50,000 is for the demolition in 26. Any questions?
I have a question.
Just go back.
Priest?
Just curious, so we have in our plans, a yard master plan, like trying to look at our full yard, and are we scrolling?
Sorry. Distracting everyone.
So the Public Works master plan for the yard, where we're going to put this? Do we know that that's where we want it, or?
Through the chair. So yeah, we knew that this was coming up because obviously we completed that review in 23. So this has been included in that master plan and the placement of it.
It's already sort of set, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we haven't finalized the master plan yet, but it's definitely included in there.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Is the steel building, is it going to be a pole shed, or are you going to have concrete up 6 or 8 feet to protect the steel from the salt?
Through the chair, so it'll be on an 8-foot concrete foundation, and so that'll keep it above the stockpiling, the steel frame. And then they put HVAC systems in there to pump out any moisture and everything, to get everything as dry as possible, which will help limit corrosion and whatnot. So.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to pathways, whatever that is. Community services.
Okay, Committee, Dave Ryan, Community Services. The first project is a continuation of the multi-use pathways for Gleason and Carsland. We did the engineering this year for Gleason and just carrying on with that project.
Yes, Councillor Kester.
Is there any plans for washrooms in Rosebud? I know we talked about it at one time, replacing those two honey buckets there by the gazebo.
And to the chair, no plans at this point.
Because there was some, if I remember correctly, the new one over the long one would actually be a little bit cheaper than the honey buckets time we take in the maintenance and the cleaning and all that kind of stuff. Is there any truth to that, or can you remember?
No, sorry, I don't remember doing that comparison between the servicing of the portable toilets.
Yeah.
Versus a new facility kind of thing. No, I don't remember that.
Because with these walking paths that we're going there, Rosebud's seeing quite an influx of people. They're not coming so much for the theater as much anymore. They're just coming to walk around the hamlet. There's quite a few of them going to the art galleries and going for a hike. It's like a summer park. I'm just thinking at some time we're going to need some better washrooms in there. I don't know what council's appetite is, but at one time we did see a pricing on that. Maybe that was about 2 years ago. Can you remember, Dave? Or?
Through the chair, we did do some pricing on some different options there for that. If council wishes, when we do that pathway project, we could look at that. I've had some preliminary discussions with the theater around maybe making some washrooms available at the Muirfield site, but that hasn't really gone anywhere. I asked for a proposal. They were talking about that, but we could include that like down the line with that pathway project for Rosebud if council.
That was my next question.
Thought that was a priority.
If we look at it, we could partner maybe up with the School of the Arts there, and that Opera House or the site could be opened up, or I don't know, but I'm thinking they might be favorable to partnering with us too. But I would think when we go to do that in Rosebud in a couple of years, I think that could be beneficial to the town if you include it. I don't know what the rest of the council feels like, but.
Yeah, I could follow up with that kind of line of thinking to see if there's any appetite within the community and that to maybe partner on that with that project, and then we could bring that kind of proposal back to council during that as well.
Any other discussion? Any questions you want answered about pathways? So I have none in my division. I would leave it up to the other. I guess we'll then move on to park upgrades at Lakes Muirfield.
And this project is just a placeholder for the project that was committed to by council for the upgrades, and it'll be contingent on the community association receiving the grant funding and those dollars for matching. If there's no questions on that, I can move on to the next one. Oh, sorry.
Go
When
ahead.
staff, when we're contemplating selling that land and a developer comes in, is there going to be like, usually a developer, there's 10% of the land for subdivision and you're gonna make a park or a school? I don't know if we want a school or but parklands. Do they develop any parks as part of the development?
Through the chair to council, there is 10% owing of MR in phase 3, and it would not be enough for a school site, but we are trying to take the site, an area, to be used for a future fire hall site.
You can go on to the next item. Dave?
Sure, and the next item is the Wheeland Shores building repairs, and there's a kind of a laundry list of items on that for the repairs that have been identified as have been going through the site. And I can answer any questions on that.
So I've got a couple questions. First question is, we have a lease with this organization. About how much money do we make off of the lease?
Okay, in 2023, the municipal taxes is only for a portion, so the taxes were $3,683.53, and the rent was $6,165.79 for a total of $9,848.79. That was the 2003. 2024, the municipal portion of the taxes only was $7,439.79. And we estimate the rent at $6,500 for roughly $14,000 for the revenue on that.
Okay, now a question, and I don't know if anybody can answer that. We're never gonna get a return on this dollar. Is this land like, we have campgrounds throughout the county that were given to us or sort of bestowed to us by the province? Is this actually land that is owned by the county of Wheatland that is got no? So the question I'm asking is, why do we have a campground? Like, we have 24 acres on a lake that may or may not be developed, which may or may not be a really, somebody may look at it and be, this is a great potential. Why do we own the land? I'm always been opposed to the county owning land. We should own the very, very bare minimum of it. And I'm just wondering, should we look at, just if we can do it, should we look at putting this land up for sale? I'm not sure if this is the time to ask for it, but they're asking for $146,500. And they'll be asking, there's a sewage thing that needs to be taken care of and all this kind of stuff. So if we were an individual, we would be dumping this property because we can't make the lease payments on it, or we can't make any money on it. So,
through the chair, it would be an appropriate time to ask the question as council is deliberating on spending $146,000 on that property. Yeah, ultimately, it's really what kind of recreation benefits does the committee/council see on providing this service to Wheatland County ratepayers or residents, and non-residents as well that do come in that could utilize this site. If council doesn't see a need for it, I believe the agreement expires in 5 years, or within the 5-year period is what we signed up for. So it might be just trying to think when we entered into that agreement, it might be at end of 2027. So maybe 3 years left. I know the previous agreement we did have, I don't think the county spent much money on it at all with the previous operator. And that was a 25-year lease agreement, and they ended that lease agreement early, as council should recall. Yeah, ultimately it just depends on what council wants to spend money on, if this is one thing or not on recreation. If you do good, if not, that's okay too. Just want to propose the thoughts on it. Thank you.
I'm like, it's a piece of property, so it's no different than any other piece of property. If I sell a rental property in Calgary and it's got a lease, and the leasee's got a lease, they have to agree to that. So, you know, like, somebody might buy this piece of property, current owners might buy this piece of property, and the lease is the lease. That's somebody else, like, that can all be a sort of a, for lack of a better word, a caveat against the sale of properties. But I honestly think we should think about, because this is, if wasn't a leased property, if it was just an owned campground, how much of this $146,000 would have to be done? I mean, it's, if somebody wanted to come to my place, I've got an old pole shed, probably needs to be replaced, but I'm going to make it work for another 20 years. So, you know, because it's mine and I'm paying the bills on it. So I think it's something the council should look at. I do not believe that we have another we have a boat launch on the other side of the lake. We still have that. So our ratepayers can still access the lake. It's not like it's going to be, it's 25 acres on a lake if the lake ever takes off. It could be worth quite a bit of money, so.
Just to the chair, actually one project I'm working on right now that I'm going to be bringing to council, as it is a topic that administration and council will have to deal with shortly, is the sale of municipal lands. And specifically, the administration right now is building a flow chart just to outline the exact process that administration would undertake when, who do certain responsibilities fall on, including council. So including threshold amounts. So I'm actually just working on that just within the last couple of weeks, as the administration has been undertaking the process of removing derelict buildings in Clooney. So administration is going to bring forward a process for council to review, because there would be different things that council should most likely consider when should administration get a valuation on lands to sell. Like a good example might be, you know, a lot in Clooney that is very small, might not be worth getting the professional appraisal done, as the cost would probably be, you know, maybe 30% of the appraised value of the actual parcel. However, the parcel the size of, say, 24 acres that backs onto Eagle Lake, or the 60 acres in the Lakes of Muirfield, that would be a prime example of trying to get an independent market appraisal, where the other smaller lots, you could probably just get away with not doing that and just relying on previous sales and the advice from a realtor, and of course, professional judgment from administration as well. So we are working on a process that will be coming to council. It actually should be relatively soon. Maybe not this year, but maybe in January, as we do have those lands in Clooney that the county has taken ownership of, cleaning those lots off. So this process actually would be seen or reviewed by council as well prior to kind of implementing. I don't know if that answers your question, but we are working on the process of the sale of municipal lands.
Well, that's excellent. I'm just not sure how much of this 146.5 that we want to okay. I mean, are we getting any bang for the buck? And how do you judge what needs to be done? Like, the county does an excellent job. Our administration does of what can be deferred, what can't be deferred. And I don't know if we've got that ability here or not. I'm just really hesitant to okay $146,500 on a $14,000 return.
Oh, actually, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I know that we've talked about this a lot in the past, and I also raised concerns about the county putting money into a kind of a business model, but it was argued at the time that we wanted to have some facilities like this where people can, that it was a tourism focus. Part of our strategic plan mentions tourism, that this would be one thing to address that. I don't know if at the time I kind of was swayed that it's a good idea. I don't know. I guess we should revisit it again.
When I looked at this, I wasn't thinking that way, but I do think that picnic tables are not part of us to supply. In my thoughts, it's something that somebody else can invest in, and they can take them with them if they were to leave. It's not a actual structure. Yeah, they could sell them. So I would say one thing would be the picnic tables. If we were to lower this, but I know it's only 20.
Or maybe, they state in the justification, the electrical box is a safety issue, so maybe we just do that. The rest is sort of cosmetic, which, I get it. You want to have a nice looking facility. When campers come, they're obviously going to form an opinion based on how it looks, and they'll write reviews. And so from a business perspective, from the people who are leasing this, yeah, you'd want it to look nice and you'd want people to give you good reviews. But from our perspective, I'm not sure.
Hello.
Yes.
I'm not opposed to looking about this site, and if we have to or if we can dispose of it, because if it goes, the land use would stay the same, and a private company could look at how to increase revenue and things like that. With us, I struggle with how many people actually use it from the county. I think are pretty minimal compared to how much money we're putting in comparison to other areas of the county, like where we actually have parks and things and within our municipalities or within our hamlets. So yeah, I have no.
You cut out there.
So minimal.
You cut out there for about 15 seconds.
Oh, I don't mind investing what we get for revenue from it for a period of time, but when it's way over what the revenue is, that means we're putting tax dollars into something that I don't know if we get the usage out of it. So I think we should look at it in all aspects and see what's absolutely necessary to get done there. If it's a safety concern, sure. If it's something to make it look nicer, that's a negotiation.
Thank you, Scott. Yes, yes, Brian.
Just through the chair to members of the committee, administration can defer this item as well and just bring this back with the bare bones that may or may not need to be done, and just bring that back if that's what the committee feels is appropriate. Administration, we again don't mind what we do or don't do, just a decision of council and the committee. If you want to defer it, great. If not, yeah, we can just go from there.
I myself would prefer to see it deferred and come back with what needs to be done. That's just me. Yes.
Through the chair, I couldn't hear Councillor Kester.
Maybe a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, depending on the shape of the buildings that are there now. Like Tom says, maybe it'll last 20 years, then make it a 20-year plan.
Any other discussion? Are we good
Through
with
the chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I'm supportive of the direction of the conversation of the committee so far. I'm wondering if administration might be able to reach out to the operators and just see if they track any data around where the campground users reside. That would give us a better sense of how many of our residents are utilizing the campground. That's not my sole consideration, but I think it would be some good data to have if it's available. And I certainly am in support of administration bringing back sort of the critical upgrades that are required and delineating that out. Thank you.
Administration get that?
Yes, through the chair, I can follow up with getting that data and breaking this down into multi-year project.
Any other discussion? We will move to the next.
And this next project, the majority of the septic work replacement on this was completed this year. So this is just some residual dollars left to do landscaping and just finishing up the project once the trenches settle and those type of things. So that's all that is.
So does that mean we're through the capital part?
Yes, through the chair, that's correct.
So then we move on to, is there anything else to,
Yes.
anything more on the budget?
Administration was just going to propose some dates to the committee, just for administration and council, just to put some deadlines and dates in council's calendars to provide questions or concerns about the budget, as we do need to have approval before the end of this calendar year. So what administration was thinking is that on December 6th, if possible, if council could submit any questions regarding the budget in writing to administration, just so we'll have time to put the answers together and get them back to all of council. And then on December 17th, at the last meeting of the council year, we're just hoping to bring that back for approval of the interim operating and capital budget. It's a similar process that we followed in prior years. We just want to make sure that all questions from council are answered prior to bringing forward. One thing to note to the committee as well is that, as in similar years as well, the tax rates really decided at the final, in April at the final budget. Just so, and this is just an interim budget, so if council is aware of that as well, just making that one crystal clear again. And I think if the committee is agreeable to those dates, then we can set those calendar reminders out to council. So December 6th, have any questions in writing back to administration, and then on December 17th, put the budget in council, the council package for approval. I would just have to get confirmation from the committee, not by resolution, just that would be fine.
Those dates work. I think those are good. I would say we go ahead. You've got permission to do that, so. So now we're doing, that takes care of 2.1. We're now on 2.2.
Good morning, committee members. Stefan from administration. Today I have an update on the intermunicipal development plan with the town of Strathmore. As you will recall, our council heard that item at a public hearing on October 1st. We gave first reading and had a number of amendments to the IDP. Strathmore had their public hearing the next day on October 2nd. They felt they didn't have enough time to review the amendments that were made, so they just approved it as is. And then we had some back and forth amongst administrations to help them understand the amendments that were proposed and for them to provide a response. So they've agreed with many of them. I've summarized it here in the report. But what I thought we'd do is just go through the report. So this was provided, and ISL went through everything and added all the amendments. So you can see the legend here. The yellow ones are going to be the ones that Wheatlands proposed, our council. Blue is the response from Strathmore. And then there was one minor one from the consultant there as well. So let's go through these. And then at the end, we can get your thoughts on them. If you have any questions, see kind of what we think. Ultimately, what we're looking to do is make sure that we have a document that both councils can agree with. Strathmore is reviewing this. They had their last public hearing of the year is next week, December 4th. So if we can have an item ready to go for that, then we can consider it on the 12th as well. But if we can't agree, then we'll have to cancel it next week and go back. So we can discuss that as we get to that point. But going through the proposed amendments, so one of the ones that our council brought up was an addition of a policy interpretation section. So having some definitions for the should, shall, and may. So that's been added on page 1 or 159 of the package. The other request was a explanation or definition of this absorbed land aspect. So we've added a footnote that provides a definition and gives an explanation of what that means. Page 8 has or 166 of the agenda. This is the minor one from the consultant. It's just the past tense for the date of the hearings. So the other ones are on this page. I'll skip this for 1 second. There was one more that there were no concerns with. We had suggested removing major and adding for developed roadway for development for the commercial development outside of or within the predominantly agricultural area. So page 11 or 169 of the overall agenda. So again, in blue, these are the ones that Strathmore has suggested. So there's 2 here. So this one, really, there's not a lot of concerns. What we suggested is that it be shall not be supported. Previously, it is not supported. They had no concerns with that. One item they suggested adding here, though, was adding this definition for confined feeding operations, or CFOs, just to have it in alignment with the Agricultural Operation Practices Act. So from an administration perspective, no concerns with that one. And then the other item, this is where they kind of didn't agree with part of it, so they've offered the addition of this 2.4.2 here. So just to kind of explain this, so what happened, what this policy essentially does is says that any kind of commercial and industrial development, originally it was worded shall, but we had moved that to change to should, be directed only in the future business area. So just to go to the plan, the business area is the one kind of this pink purple, and then the predominantly ag area is this brown yellow area. So the intention of this policy obviously was to have larger scale business development locate kind of south of the highway, and then the predominantly ag area would be just that, predominantly agricultural residences, as well as some of the small scale commercial industrial uses that are currently allowed under the MDP. So we wanted to maintain that aspect as well. And that was done through having notwithstanding policies. Now, there was part that we kind of missed throughout this, and that's essentially what they're adding or suggesting to add. So what they like to see is have it stay as should, or stay as shall, so not should, but shall be directed to those areas, and then use these 2 notwithstanding aspects to allow development outside of the business area in cases where there's an area structure plan. So like, for example, Highway 1 that has commercial development, that was kind of a miss before. This way, with that notwithstanding, that would then be allowed to occur in that area in accordance with that area structure plan. And then the other one was a notwithstanding policy that we had in there previously, so 2.5.2. That allows kind of that smaller scale commercial industrial development that we're talking about that's already allowed under the MDP. That would be allowed to proceed as well. So even though it says shall, we have those 2 kind of aspects where it is allowed because of the notwithstanding parts. So hopefully that makes sense. But if you have any questions, obviously, this is an opportunity to discuss, see what you think about the amendments, and hopefully come to a resolution.
Thank you. Discussion. Do you like what you see? There's no, I really appreciate all the work that staff has done on this. You've handled this amazingly well, and I'm good with this draft.
Great.
I agree. I feel like it's addressed the concern that we had there. It's, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
No other discussion?
Do we need a motion or anything, or is that?
Just one point to the chair. One thing I also forgot is that we didn't have a motion just to accept that budget as information. So you should have just a motion to accept both just topics as information, just so during the minutes you can reflect that both those topics just were discussed.
Okay, so. Yes.
Oh, just the microphone, Councillor Custer.
168, there's a map there. Is that the ring road? That light?
Through the chair, yes. This kind of purple thing here, that's the proposed bypass location for the highway.
So it kind of splits their industrial area. It's going to be a pain, I would think, or?
So part of the reason that was chosen to have this be future commercial is to take advantage of the fact that the highway would be there. So highway commercial or any kind of industrial uses that can make use of it instead of having to drive through, residential areas or those type of things. It also allows for commercial industrial uses that may be more transitory. So if somebody's in this location where the interchange is proposed to be, they can still develop with, storage areas or something like that where it can still be used in the meantime until it's actually developed to its full extent.
So that area looks like a aneurysm or a bubble in the middle there. What is that?
That would be for like an interchange.
An interchange on a bypass road.
Because this is Highway 817 here.
Yeah, it's an interchange for you have to have an interchange on 817. Like.
So it could be a traffic circle.
It could be. This is a concept, right? So they're saying that land, if it needs an interchange in the future, they've set aside enough or indicated enough area that would account for that. It's likely that it could be, stages, right? If it starts out as
another overpass, there could be 3 overpasses.
Yep.
So we had a meeting with Darren Davidson at RMA, and he does not foresee this thing is at least 25 years out, because he gave examples of other ring roads and bypasses that are on the books that are still an awful long, and they've been on the books for like 15, 20 years, and they're still a long way away from happening. So before the Alberta government pulls the pin on doing a bypass, it's going to be an awful long time. So keep that in mind. I don't think that, and that road that's just a line on a map. They could move it an awful long way if they choose to. So, so.
Okay, great. Well, if that's good to go, I will inform Strathmore they can approve essentially as this document is, with just those minor changes, and then we'll bring it back on December 12th. 3rd? Wouldn't it be 12th? 17th, maybe? We'll decide. But yes, this month.
Because when is our extension?
Just to the end of the year.
The end of the year.
End of the year, so we got to get it done this year.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we need a motion to accept the intermunicipal development plan as information.
I'll move that, Council. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead,
No,
Amber.
go ahead, Councillor Baker. I'll make the motion regarding the IDP, and also just want to reiterate the chair's thanks to administration for all of the work on the ICF and the IDP. I know it was daunting and challenging at times, but I think we've done a fantastic job of finalizing these plans. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion in front of us for the IDP. Councillor Laprise.
In favor.
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert's in favor. Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Reeve Link.
In favor?
Councillor Clausen.
In favor.
That is passed. Also we need a motion to accept the interim capital and operating budgets as information. Go ahead.
I'll move that we approve the interim and operating interim budgets for 2025 to 2027 as information.
Thank you. We'll call the vote.
Just maybe just like that motion on the screen just accepts as information.
Okay, well,
That council accepts the draft 2025 intern capital and operating budget as information.
thank you. Any discussion? If not, I'll call the vote. Councillor Laprise.
In favor?
Councillor Bigger.
In favor?
Councillor Eichert is in favor. Councillor Kester.
In favor.
Reeve Link.
In favor?
Councillor Clausen.
In favor.
That is passed. Does that take care of our agenda for today? I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much, everybody.